Every year, golf brands release new irons claiming more speed, more forgiveness, more distance, more technology. Every year, somewhere on a public course, a golfer pulls a set of Ping i2s from a bag that has seen better days. Paint worn off the sole, grips replaced twice over, the cavity back scratched and honest in a way modern irons never look, and quietly hits the green while his playing partners stand there with their premium releases wondering what just happened. That moment has been repeating itself for decades. It should not still be happening. The industry has had every reason, every tool, every marketing budget in the world to make the i2 feel obsolete, and it has failed. This is not a nostalgia piece. Nostalgia does not explain why those irons keep finding new owners on used racks, why they keep showing up in debates about whether spending more actually means playing better, why they keep producing shots that make people uncomfortable with the things they were told to believe about modern equipment. Nostalgia is comfortable. What the i2 represents is not comfortable at all. To understand why this iron refuses to die, you have to go back to the problem it was built to solve, and understand that the problem has not gone away. Before the i2 existed, there was a cultural wall in golf equipment. Serious players used blades. Compact, demanding, punishing on misshits, but respected precisely because of that. Forgiveness was something you gave beginners who did not know better. The idea that a helping iron could also be a real iron, one that a competitive player might actually want in his bag, was not a conversation anyone in the industry was seriously having. The market rewarded aesthetics that looked serious, even when those aesthetics made the game harder for everyone who was not a scratch golfer or better. Karsten Solheim did not think like the rest of the industry. He was an engineer before he was a golf brand, and engineers solve problems rather than protect appearances. The question he kept asking was not how to make an iron that looked impressive in the pro shop. It was how to make an iron that helped a real golfer make better contact more often, without turning the experience into something that felt like cheating. That difference in starting point changed everything. If you start by asking what looks serious, you build toward tradition. If you start by asking what actually helps, you build toward function. And the i2 was relentlessly functional in ways that made certain parts of the golf world deeply uncomfortable, which, as it turned out, was exactly why it lasted. If you want to keep understanding why certain designs survive everything the industry throws at them, this channel exists for exactly that. Subscribe and do not miss what comes next. The design of the i2 was built around a simple observation. Most golfers do not hit the center of the face most of the time. Not beginners, not mid-handicappers, not even a significant portion of single-digit players on a normal round on a normal day. The center of the face is hard to find, and the golf industry has known this for as long as irons have existed. The question is what you do with that knowledge. One answer is to punish the misshit and let the golfer fix his swing. That is the blade philosophy. The other answer is to redistribute the weight of the iron around the perimeter of the head so that off-center strikes lose less energy, hold their line better, and arrive closer to where they were supposed to go. That is what the i2 did, and it did it in a way that was visible, honest, and unapologetic. The cavity back was not hidden. The perimeter weighting was not disguised inside a sleek shape designed to look like something else. The i2 looked like what it was, a tool engineered to help, and that transparency was part of what made it trustworthy. When you looked down at it at address, you knew exactly what you were working with. There was no gap between the promise and the reality. The offset helped a wide range of players get the face delivered more squarely at impact. The sole was designed to interact with the turf in a way that reduced the penalty for coming in slightly steep or slightly shallow. Every element of the design was pointing in the same direction. Make the shot that the golfer was actually trying to hit more likely to happen. And then there was the fitting. Ping's color code system for lie angles was not a gimmick. It was a serious attempt to solve a problem that most of the industry either ignored or handled poorly, the fact that a standard lie angle does not fit most golfers, and a club that does not fit tends to produce misses that the golfer spends years blaming on his swing. When the i2 was fitted properly, it removed an entire category of error from the equation. That specificity mattered. It still matters. The feel was not the feel of a forged blade, and it never pretended to be. But it was honest. A pure strike felt different from a mission, which meant the golfer was receiving real information about what was happening at impact rather than a muffled approximation. Feedback without humiliation, that combination is rarer than it sounds, and the i2 delivered it consistently enough that players at very different levels found something to trust in it. That trust accumulated over time. It was not manufactured by an advertising campaign. It was built shot by shot, round by round, season by season, which is a completely different kind of reputation, and a much harder one to displace. There is a version of the Ping i2 story that ends with a well-designed iron becoming quietly popular and eventually fading into the background as newer technology arrived. That is the story most equipment has. The i2 did not get that story. Instead, it got something far more powerful, a controversy that turned a golf club into a symbol. The groove debate that surrounded the i2 was not a simple story of a company breaking the rules and getting caught. It was a dispute about measurement, interpretation, and the boundaries of conformity. The kind of dispute that regulators prefer to resolve quietly and companies prefer to survive without fighting. Ping did not resolve it quietly. They fought, publicly and at length, over whether their grooves met the standards as written and how those standards should be measured. The specifics involved tolerances so precise that the argument itself became a demonstration of how much was at stake. What that fight did to the i2's reputation cannot be overstated. In an industry where most equipment controversies are about marketing claims that turn out to be exaggerated, here was a situation where a governing body was trying to restrict a product that real golfers were actually using to play real golf. The message that filtered through to the average player was not technical. It was emotional. These irons are dangerous enough that someone powerful wants to limit them. That perception is almost impossible to manufacture. You cannot run a campaign that makes your product feel forbidden. You cannot pay for the kind of credibility that comes from surviving an institutional challenge. The i2 earned that credibility through a process that was uncomfortable for everyone involved and came out the other side with a reputation that was genuinely different from anything else in the market. Golfers who had never thought much about groove geometry suddenly had an opinion about Ping. People who were not yet in the game when the controversy peaked still know the broad outlines of the story, because it was passed down through golf culture the way certain stories always are, as evidence that something real was happening, that the iron was not just another product on a shelf. The grooves themselves became part of the mythology, whether or not they made a measurable difference for the golfer hitting a mid-iron from the fairway. And for most amateur players, that question is genuinely complicated. The story of the grooves made the i2 feel like an instrument that had been tested by something harder than a marketing review. That feeling attached itself to the iron and never fully left. Here is the moment to ask yourself something. Have you ever played with a set of i2s, or do you know someone who still carries them? Leave it in the comments. And if this kind of deep dive into equipment history is what you are here for, the subscribe button is right there. Most irons become famous because a tour player wins a major with them. The i2 became legendary because the rulebook could not quietly bury it. Those are very different kinds of fame, and only one of them tends to last. Let's be honest about something, because the i2's reputation does not need protecting through exaggeration. Modern irons do certain things better. A well-fitted current game improvement iron will likely launch the ball higher with more consistency for many players. Ball speeds off modern faces, with their variable thickness and precision milling, are genuinely faster than what the i2 produces. Tungsten weighting, hollow bodies, and AI-assisted design have pushed the engineering of iron heads into territory that Karsten Solheim's team was not working with. These are real improvements, not just marketing language. So the question is not whether modern irons have advanced. They have. The question is what they have advanced toward, and whether that direction actually solves the problem that most golfers bring to the course every weekend. Here is what the modern iron market has largely decided to sell. Lofts have strengthened across the board, so that a 7-iron today often carries the loft of a 5-iron from the i2 era. Ball speed numbers look extraordinary on a launch monitor. The marketing is built around how far you can hit each club, with the implicit promise that more distance equals better golf. For a specific kind of player, someone with a consistent, controlled swing who needs more carry to reach certain greens, someone optimizing every variable of their game with professional fitting and regular practice. That promise has real content. Modern distance irons can deliver genuine scoring advantages in the right hands. But consider the golfer who plays twice a month, carries an 18 handicap, and consistently struggles with contact. His 7-iron with a strong modern loft goes further on pure strikes. His misshots, though, go roughly the same direction as always, offline, short, inconsistent. The distance gain he sees on his best shots does not translate to lower scores, because his best shots were never the problem. The problem is the other ones, and a faster face does not solve a strike that misses the sweet spot by 1.5 inches. The i2 was designed with that golfer in mind. Not as a charity project, not as a beginner's training wheel, as a serious attempt to build an iron that helped a real player play better golf on real courses. The perimeter weighting does not care what year it is. The forgiveness it delivers on misshots is not a vintage feature that modern engineering has rendered obsolete. It is a response to a problem that the modern equipment industry has partially sidestepped by reframing the conversation around peak performance rather than consistent performance. Same problem, same apparent metric, different answer depending on which variable you actually care about. The used market tells part of this story in its own quiet way. The i2 keeps appearing on resale platforms, keeps finding buyers, keeps getting regripped and rechecked and put back into rotation. The used market is where marketing goes to die and reputation has to stand entirely by itself. A product that survives there for decades is not surviving on nostalgia. It is surviving because people keep picking it up, hitting shots with it, and deciding it is worth keeping. The i2 is not for every golfer. That is not a weakness of the iron. It is just an accurate description of reality, and the i2 deserves accuracy more than it deserves promotion. If you are chasing maximum distance, if you want the longest possible 7-iron number, and you have the swing to use a stronger loft without sacrificing control, there are modern options that will serve you better. If you need specific shaft characteristics that require a current fitting session with modern options, the i2 will limit your choices. If you want an iron that looks sleek and minimal at address, the i2's silhouette is going to feel like a different era, because it is. But if you are a golfer who values predictability over peak performance, who wants to know roughly where the ball is going even when the strike is slightly off, who finds confidence in a design that communicates honestly about what it is doing, the i2 still has a real argument to make. It sits in a rare position, more forgiving than the blades that defined serious golf in its era, more honest in its feedback than many game improvement irons that followed it. Not a training wheel, not a tour blade. Something in between that very few designs have managed to occupy with the same clarity. The golfer who keeps i2s in the bag is not refusing progress. He is refusing to confuse progress with purchase frequency. Those are genuinely different things, and the equipment industry has spent considerable effort making them feel like the same thing. There is also something worth noting about what the i2 did to the language of iron design. The cavity back, the perimeter weighting, the philosophical acceptance that helping a golfer is not the same as insulting him, these ideas did not die with the i2. They spread. They became the foundation of how the industry thought about game improvement irons for decades afterward. The modern iron that your playing partner is carrying almost certainly owes something to the design thinking that the i2 helped normalize. In that sense, the i2 did not just age well. It taught future irons what they were supposed to become. Designs that only win one season are easy to replace. Designs that change the vocabulary of an entire category are not. The i2 changed how the golf industry talked about forgiveness, about fitting, about what a serious iron was allowed to look like and do. That influence does not disappear when a newer model arrives. It gets embedded into the things that come next. Ping i2 irons refused to die because they were never just about nostalgia. They were about a simple promise that modern golf still struggles to consistently keep. Help the golfer without lying to him. Give him forgiveness without taking away feedback. Give him confidence without removing his responsibility for the strike. That promise was made in steel and cavity geometry decades ago, and it has outlasted more product cycles than anyone in the industry would have predicted. Some clubs get replaced. The I too became part of the language of golf. If someone in your life is still debating whether old equipment can still compete, or whether the upgrade cycle is actually delivering what it promises, this is the video to send them. And the next one goes even deeper. You know where the subscribe button is.